Are you ready to pick up the phone and talk to listing agents about buyer agent commission? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Rosemary Lewis, your real estate bestie, and today we are answering burning questions about how to approach this post-settlement era, especially when it comes to talking to listing agents about buyer agent commission. But before we get into it, first of all, if you are brand new to my channel, hey girl, hey, I am so excited that you are here. Go ahead and click the subscribe button, that notification bell, and then that way you will be notified every single time me, your real estate bestie, records a video. Okay, let's get into our question for today. Okay, today's question comes from one of our besties in North Carolina, and her question is, how are you handling asking sellers agents if they are paying buyer agent commission? Oh boy, here we are, besties, after the settlement, right? We are in the post-settlement era, and this is something that we are going to have to navigate moving forward. So my very best advice is let's not make this more complicated than it has to be. So simply pick up the phone, okay? I am always going to encourage you to pick up the phone for a few reasons. Number one, I just like to establish rapport. Like anytime I'm showing a home, even before the settlement and all of that stuff, I would always pick up the phone to give the listing agent a call just to say, hey, you know what, thank you so much. I'm scheduled to go see your listing, to get any additional information about the property that I could get from my clients, especially those that were really interested. Tell them a little bit about me, and that's it, right? So now I'm just gonna tack on to that conversation, and out of curiosity, just checking in to see if there will be a buyer agent commission offered by the sellers, okay? So do not complicate it, just simply pick up the phone and ask the question. Now, my mother would always say this though, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So let's not, start off already with an attitude, already with an air about ourselves. Don't even get frustrated, right? If you get the answer that you don't necessarily desire from the listing agent, just ask the question so that you can get the proper information. But if you remember a couple podcasts back, and I'm going to link it to this episode, there are some brokerages, and my brokerage is one, that are no longer participating in buyer agent commission. So just know, and I'm one of these agents, I literally just took a listing, and the way that my brokerage is instructing me to have these conversations, it looks different than what some people might be expecting. And I don't want you to be hostile, but I do want to give you an example of what it might look like. So if someone calls me and says, hey, Rosemary, I'm showing your listing over on 123 Main Street. Just out of curiosity, is the seller going to pay buyer agent commission? My response to them, because based on what my paperwork looks like, will be, my sellers are considering all offers. They are definitely considering paying commission. They have not set an amount. They'll just be reviewing all offers. And I encourage you to put in whatever your commission amount is, and I will happily present it to them. Now, what I'm not doing there is I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not, trying to keep the buyer's agent at bay. But what I am doing is keeping my tail out of litigation and keeping my brokerage out of litigation. So I just want you to understand that if you don't get a quote unquote direct answer, that does not mean that a seller will not pay. And the best way that I can think about this, right? I think about when it just in general, when it's time to offer on a property, right? If I know that my buyers, we're going to offer less than list, or they need certain concessions or something like that, I am not going to not submit that offer just because the listing didn't say that the seller was willing to offer concessions, right? I've written tons of offers, gotten tons of offers accepted with my buyers getting concessions, and that is the exact way that we are approaching, right, the changes. And really, it's just a difference of words. That's what I really want you to think about. So instead of commissions or compensation, hey, is your client willing to pay concessions towards buyer closing costs. And one of those closing costs is our fee. Now, make sure that you are writing all the stuff in the right places. I know everyone is from a different state, all of our besties that watch this podcast or listen to it. So make sure that you are very aware on what addenda needs to be attached to your executed offers to make sure that you are getting paid. But that initial conversation, just make it as easy and light as you can. Now, if for whatever reason, now I know a lot of people are like, well, listing agents don't answer the phone. Listing agents don't always pick up the phone, all this other stuff, and you definitely want to get paid. This is why, again, we have these conversations with our buyers ahead of time and letting them know, like, hey, I just let the buyer know, hey, going into it, we've already agreed that they have a buyer agency agreement with me. We understand what our fee is. So if for whatever reason this listing agent hasn't picked up the phone and I'm not sure on what the number will be until we get the offer accepted, you just have to have that upfront conversation so your buyers know ultimately it's their responsibility. And just like, again, I don't want you to be all nervous, but just like if my buyer really needed $10,000 towards closing costs and we put in an offer and that seller didn't give us the $10,000, then we're going to move on to another house that will, okay? So again, it's really the attitude and the way we approach these changes that's really going to impact how it actually affects you and it affects your business. So pick up the phone, establish that rapport, ask the question, and move on. All right, bestie, I hope that this video was helpful in helping you just think through how you are going to approach our new normal, okay? And speaking of new normal, one thing that needs to be a consistent normal in your life and in your business are the habits, right? The habits that will help you build up to 6 figures and beyond. And lucky for you, because I love you, bestie, we have a free ebook where I have outlined 6 steps to 6 figures. Listen, and amen, if you want to get to multiple 6 figures, head on over to rosemarylewis.com/6, or you can just click the description box and you will have your hands on that book right away. And I'll be right back here to answer any of your questions next week. Bye, bestie.